Hello, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. We're glad you're here. You know spring is coming, but unfortunately all you can do is walk around the outside of the church until we get to go inside again. But if you want to let us know more about you and find out more about us, you can try our website, uutarpon.org. We'd love to see you and find out more about you.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs, located in the heart of the walkable Tarpon Springs Historic District and known as the home of the Innes paintings. We are a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. I'm Reverend Christina Spouty, minister here of UUCTS. I'm glad you are here. I hope that you find meaning in today's service. Please consider joining us on a Sunday morning when we gather to worship as a community every week beginning at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom, or drop in for a more personal visit to one of our coffee hours starting at 11:30 on Sundays on Zoom. Please refer to our website for information about how to connect with us on Zoom. Our service associate will now begin today's service. Let us enter this sacred time with open minds and open hearts.
Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. My name is Dimitri Hernandez. We also have my wife, Linda Mandano, here. We have the privilege to be your worship associates today. We are delighted to welcome you via this virtual world for the moment, and are really excited when we get to really see your beautiful faces live, right here. Linda and I joined this church about 6 years ago, and we were looking for like-minded people with values similar to ours. We were delighted to find very creative people, intelligent people, who valued social justice and were invested in contributing to the community in a meaningful way. We were amazed by all the programs and activities that were going on, considering how small the church population was. This is a mighty little church and is doing some good.
Today's service is a little different. This service will help us to begin to think about and envision our future. Kathy and Mark will kick off with a dialogue about creating a future vision for our church. Then, in the small groups, you will be invited to continue the dialogue. And of course, we will also be enjoying music by our music director, Bonnie Whitehurst. We will now light the chalice to begin the service. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
for a boat that's sailing far away down low and way. I dream the dream I yearned, lad. By the light of the peat fire flame, light for love, for lilt, for laughter. By the light of the peat fire flame, the flame the hill folk yearn for.
Our story today is There Must Be More Than That by Shinsuke Yashitaki, who is from Japan. It's about a little girl in Japan. Oh no, it's raining. Dad said it would be sunny today, but you can't always trust grown-ups. Hi, brother. Hey, sis. Do you want to know something? Our future is doomed. Huh? What does future mean? Future is what happens later, like tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now. Terrible things are going to happen in the future. That's what a grown-up told my friend. We're going to run out of food because there are too many people, and there will be plagues and wars, and aliens, invasions, and the earth will be destroyed. By the time you and I grow up, things are going to be terrible. No way. Really? Grandma, our future is doomed. Oh my, why do you say that? My brother told me so. Oh, I see. Don't worry. No one really knows what will happen in the future. Sure, there will be bad things, but there will be lots and lots of good things too. Grown-ups act like they can predict the future, but they're not always right. Yeah, Dad said it was going to rain today, but it didn't rain. See, that's what I mean. Grown-ups often tell you to choose one of two things. But if neither of them seems right, there are many more choices. It's okay to find something new on your own. There are so many possible futures. You're right. There must be more than just 2 or 3. Exactly. There must be more than that. Hey, you. Our future isn't going to be all that bad. There are lots of possible futures. A future with hot dogs every day. A future where it's okay to spend the whole day in your pajamas. A future where every Saturday is Christmas. A future where robots take us everywhere. A future where someone always catches the strawberry you drop. A future where someone does your homework for you. And this is my favorite. A future where your room has a 0 gravity switch. That sounds great. I want a future where someone always catches my strawberries. See? Pretty cool, huh? Grandma, when I grow up, I'm going to get a job thinking of different futures. What a great idea. But I'll probably be gone by then. Oh, no way. That isn't the only option, Grandma. Tomorrow, you might feel so great you could take a trip around the world. Or maybe tomorrow, you'll wake up as a teddy bear. Who knows? You could end up living for 300 years. Ha, you're right. There must be more than that for me. The future's so cool, isn't it? It sure is.
When I begin to think of the future, my thoughts turn to Robert Fritz, a person from whom I've learned a great deal about creating the future. Robert Fritz is an American composer, filmmaker, and author. On his website, he has a post entitled, "Creating a Different Way of Life." Let me share the reading with you. Most people who are ready to tell others how they should live their lives have a notion of just what that person should do in life. Most of these prescriptions come with approved values and morals. Do this, think that, act this way, believe these ideas, and on it goes. But the creative process is different from any of these approaches because it's not a belief system, not philosophy, not psychology, not metaphysics, not the right way to live or how you should be or how you should even define yourself. Instead, it begins with a very simple yet profound question that only you can answer, which is this: what matters to me enough to create it? What do you want to create? You can ask this question concerning just about anything. What do you want to create for dinner tonight? What living situations do you want to create? What career do you want to create for yourself? And what kind of life do you want to create? For the creator, there are always new sheets of paper to fill, new blank canvases to paint, new music to compose, new buildings to build, new frontiers to explore, new wonderful experiences to experience, new and old friends to enjoy, new moments to savor, something new to imagine that has never been thought of before. That no matter what your age or situation, this awakens the call to create, to bring into existence that which at first was only a vision. Thus ends the reading.
the parking lot, and not the windows, not the paintings, not the musician. No, it's the people that are making up this church.
It's time for the offering for the work and the welfare of this church. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button. Or please send your checks to 57 Reed Street. The entire address is right there on your screen. And thank you.
So Kathy, I've been intrigued ever since I saw the title of this sermon, UUCTS Future, Who Decides? Got me wondering, what would it look like, say 5 years in the future?
Well, maybe we could just imagine that for a moment. Let's just kind of think. 5 years out, 2026. You know, what would the neighbors say about what's happening at this church 5 years into the future? Let's just think.
I'll ponder that.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you tell us anything about this church? What's going on there these days?
Well, I don't know. Not much, I don't think.
Nah.
I have I see a couple of older people going in occasionally, but I don't know. The lights are never on, and I don't know. Not much.
Well, you know, it's a shame. They work so hard. They really, after this, they had a sinkhole, and after they spent like years fixing it, then with the COVID, that's it. When they came back, essentially they didn't come back. It just turned into like, it just, there's no energy here. I don't know. It's pretty sad.
Are the paintings still there?
I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, they're there, but there's not much traffic.
You
There's
can't
not
really go
people.
see them or anything?
But this is so sad. It's such a beautiful church here in
Yeah.
Tarpon Springs, and
They work so hard too.
Yeah.
to Get at this place.
it's sad to see what's happened.
That was discouraging.
That was awful.
How did that happen?
You know, I have a hunch.
Hope
I
so.
wonder if after the pandemic, instead of moving forward with things, they went backwards in time and they tried to go back to their normal pre-COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that's when the church began to die.
Let's imagine it with a little Robert Fritz thrown in there, that people decided really what mattered most. Like the church matters a lot.
So after the pandemic, they
Well-
said, instead of going back to the way we used to do things,
Yeah.
we're going to think of new possibilities, like new possibilities for the future, like in our story.
Yeah, let's see that.
Okay, let's imagine that for a minute. about the UU Church. What's going on there these days?
Lots is going on here. It's always busy. There's lots of activity. People going in and out. We see kids, we see teenagers. I think there's a new LGBTQ group meeting, which is wonderful for us because our grandson is part of it, and we're very excited that he has this.
There are all kinds of other things going on, even connections with the town, like they're having meetings here, they're talking about the environment, they're involved in everything. It's like really amazing how much they've kind of grown after they had the sinkhole here and they came back. And it took a long time, but they're really focused and really doing things. They're working on a fountain over here now, and it's just beautiful. And, it turned out to be a pretty nice campus. Very friendly people, super friendly. So, we come when we can, we attend, and we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think we're really seriously considering we're going to be joining this church. We want to be part of it.
Thank you.
It looks to me like Robert Fritz was onto something. He had it right when he said that profound questions have a big influence on who we become. He framed it as what matters enough to create it and what awakens the call to create. I remember, Kathy, a few years back when you were thinking about taking on bigger roles in the church, and I asked a question, are you sure? That it would be a lot of time and energy that could go to other things in retirement. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I felt like it was really important for this community to have a presence of a liberal religious influence. I thought that was worth putting my time and effort to. That would be a cause that I could get behind.
It's really been a guiding principle for you, hasn't it?
It has. It's given me a purpose. Having that overarching purpose helps me do what might otherwise be uninteresting or boring or not fun tasks.
I've seen a few of those.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes into running a church. So having that purpose that is motivating and keeps me grounded has made all the difference.
One of the things you've always had a knack for is seeing the future. I've seen it at work in our family, and I know it's worked in your career and with your colleagues. So since you've been so involved in this church, what do your instincts tell you now about the future of this church?
I think now is a real critical time for our church, because as we come out of COVID, we're going to have some decisions to make. So when the pandemic started, it was kind of like hitting the pause button for our church, right? Some things that we did and we loved, we just kind of weren't able to do for like a whole year. But other things, we just leaped forward, like a year ago, there wasn't a way that you could attend the meeting unless you were physically in the room with the people in that meeting.
Like this, we started doing this.
And now we have Zoom, and we've learned how to use it, and we have a robust YouTube page with like a year's worth of services out there. We have an online presence now, and we've learned a lot.
So you mentioned the big decisions that are coming ahead. Can you describe some of those?
Well, I think two of the most immediate decisions when we are able to return in person is, first, to what degree do we go back to like our normal Sunday morning routine? Or do we want to keep our services viewable for people who don't attend us in person? And what that would mean is when you come to the sanctuary on a Sunday morning, and you're listening to this or watching the service, there might be a tripod and a camera in front of the pulpit. And, is that something we want? So that's a decision. We'd have to invest in technology to make that happen. And then we'd have to decide first, though, do we want that?
So
is it important?
Who do we want to reach and how do we want to reach them?
And how inclusive are we going to be?
Okay.
And the second decision that's going to hit us pretty quick is about the children. So when we came back to the sanctuary, you know, we were really proud. We had a kids' room, and Jami joined us to be the child care provider. And we got more kids coming. But it wasn't long at all until the parents started to say, well, we want something more than just babysitting. We
Right.
want a program. We want it to be educational. We want them to learn about the UU principles. So one of the wonderful things that happened during the pandemic, Reverend Christina hooked us up with some other UU congregations who have wonderful kids programs, and our kids were able to participate, and they've started to learn about UUism through that partnership. So the question is, after COVID, what's next with our children's program? Do we go back to childcare, or do we build something new?
So I have a feeling we're going to be hearing that question, what's next, a lot, or at least considering that question, what's next, a lot. And it strikes me as that can either be a casual question, like, what's next? Or it could be a question that leads to some big leap. Is that what you have in mind, the big leaps?
Yeah, I think when you consider what's next, you have to think beyond just yourself and what you're comfortable with. And you have to think more about the spiritual community as a whole and what's important. And so just some examples, like this church has always said we want to be more diverse. We want more diverse age groups. We want more diverse race within the church community and backgrounds. But I think we're really going to have to look deep within ourselves and say, are we really willing to do what it would take? You know, we'd have to get out in the community more and meet people where they are. We'd have to examine our own, you know, are there ways that we perpetuate the white supremacy culture just by doing things the way we've always done them? And we're not even aware that we're playing a part in sustaining the culture that we wish we didn't have. So those are real changes in soul searching that we could look at.
Sounds like several things are going to fit together. Being a spiritual community, we need to think more deeply about issues and matters, and so we'll be doing that. At the same time, we'll be creating something that we want to say this is what really matters to us. There's a well-worn phrase, I'm sure everyone's heard it, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So not to oversimplify things, but does that apply to us here? Is that what?
Absolutely, and this is a time to think about what is it we really want. Another phrase or similar idea is a quote that I love from George Bernard Shaw. He says, "Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, you will what you imagine, and at last, you create what you will."
I like that. I also like you found a graphic that represents that pretty well. Could you speak to this for us?
Sure. So this graphic is something that came from the UUA because it's quite a common thing that churches do, come up with visions and missions and covenants and so forth. So if you look at this graphic, you'll see the middle two sections. There's mission and covenant. And those are things that we're very familiar with. I would say that this church has a living mission and a living covenant.
Mission, we are a liberal community for all ages, promoting.
Exactly. If you hang around us very long at all, or even attend just one service, you're going to hear the mission and you're going to see the covenant. So, and we think about mission and covenant as we go about doing what we do. So I think we've got a living mission and covenant. But where we're lacking a bit, if you look at the top of this diagram, it says vision, our dream, our vow with the universe. We don't have a clearly defined vision, and that's something that would really help us, especially right now.
I'm going to share with you, when I first saw this chart, I misread that line. Actually, I read it as vision, our dream, our wow with the universe.
I like that. I think we ought to change the chart. I think we ought to say, what is the wow that we can imagine in the future
We're
for
going
this
to wow
church?
the universe.
let's just wow our own congregants so that they get energized and really feel committed to our vision. And once you have the vision in place, if you look further down the chart, there's shared ministry goals, and then there's objectives. And the shared ministry goals, when I envision there, you know how we have like all these different committees in the church.
Right.
Each committee gets together and decides what we want our committee to do. You know, we're going to do this, and then the other committee, we're going to do that.
Right.
And it's like silo committees.
That's true.
Well, if we had this vision that we all shared, and then the committees could work together more, they'd be working towards the same thing. And from that, you could set goals. And then as you have specific events or projects, you get down to the more detailed objectives, which are measurable, and you can tell, are we making progress?
Sounding pretty intriguing. So talk a little bit about how you imagine us going about creating a vision.
Well, what we've learned from the past when we've had big decisions is it works to sit down in person in small groups. So it's more intimate, it's more relaxed, and everyone has a chance to kind of think and share their thoughts. And then you look for themes across our community, and they tend to bubble up. Like when we did this in the past with the cottage meetings in 2019, when we were looking for a minister, it was amazing how many themes were common from one group to the next.
Right.
So we want to do the small group approach again.
So you seem to emphasize a couple of times everyone can get involved and be a community. Why is that important?
Well, one of the things that I've learned is that the churches that thrive, and I don't mean just the number of members that a church has, I mean the depth of commitment. Those churches have a living mission and a living vision. And the way to get that depth of commitment, to get people motivated, is for people to take part in creating the mission, and then they're invested in it, and they feel it, and they own it, and they're committed to it. And that's what will give us that commitment, which will help us thrive.
Okay, so Kathy, that's a lot to think about, and we know that what we have coming up are the opportunities to be involved in the small
Right.
groups to discuss. Can you sum up what you think we can take away with us that we might be thinking about before the groups?
So before you, first of all, please make sure you participate. It's really important. We want to hear from everyone. And before you go to your small group session, there are two things that I think would be good to think about. The first thing is, what is it we do well now? You know, what drove you to join this church, and why do you keep coming? So what is it we do well? What's our starting point? And then the second thing is start to paint a picture in your mind. What could this church be at our absolute best? What would warm your heart if that could come out to be true? And start to form that in your mind. And then when you go to the small group, just be ready to share your thoughts.
Pretty cool. I, for one, can hardly wait to see what this congregation will come up with the imagination and ingenuity. Thanks a lot.
Let's hope our future is the rosier one.
Okay.
Tell me.
From the light of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin.
Like everyone else, we have been confined for a year. We are beginning to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Dimitri and I have started our discussions at home about where we want to be in the next years. I came up with the idea of 5 years. Where do we see ourselves? Who are we after going through this year of COVID? What are our goals? And we see this as an opportunity to create or recreate our lives. In the same way, our church has an incredible opportunity to think about the future. Where do we as a community want to go? What are our goals? Who are we in the city of Tarpon Springs? It would be sad not to take this opportunity and run with it. Why not? But every single person is crucial in coming together and envisioning this future, because it is up to us. So, Dimitri and I, like we did with the cottage meetings, will be meeting with small groups, either on Zoom or maybe in person, outdoors, to listen to what you would envision for the future. In the next weeks, you will be invited to sign up for a group, and we encourage every single person to do that. I think it will be exciting for us to sit down together. It will be eye-opening. We'll just explore all the possibilities. So now we close the Say service with a reading titled A Lament by David Breeden. We cry out in grief at the suffering we see.
People
all living things, the planet.
Preventable suffering, yet
It continues on and on.
when we feel overwhelmed,
We gather to find the path, to find new ways forward.
when we feel overwhelmed,
We know that to our right and to our left are the faces of caring, faces of companionship.
joining together,
We find our refuge, we find our strength,
we find our wisdom.
we find our way forward.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
I hope that you found meaning in today's service. Again, I invite you to consider joining us sometime on Sunday morning when we gather for worship as a community. The service starts at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. You are also welcome to drop into our Zoom room coffee hour any Sunday at 11:30 for friendly conversation. Please refer to our website for more information on how to connect with us on Zoom. If you use the Connect Online button, it will take you directly to any of our activities. We look forward to meeting you.